and gentlemen, welcome to Marketing Monday in the week of July 4th, a special American edition. We've talked about Europe far too much. It's time to get back to the qualms and struggles and problems and business lessons of America. What is the number one thing Americans care the most about when it comes to business? Fast food. Fast food burger. Specifically, how goddamn expensive it has become. Fast food is too expensive, says a majority of Americans. It has simply gotten out of their regular price range, and they're getting frustrated. When did McDonald's become so overpriced? From Reddit, circling a $22 charge for a simple value meal. Fast food prices are out of control. 3 million view video. Somebody noticed in Connecticut they were seeing prices as high as $19 for a quarter pounder with cheese meal. 10-piece chicken nuggets for $18.30. Connecticut McDonald's branch slammed for charging $18 for a Big Mac meal. People are also noticing on the value end, they're also getting squeezed.
McDonald's has a dollar menu right now without a single item costs $1.
There's no more dollar menu items on the dollar menu. All these price increases have actually made the McDonald's CEO very happy because every single quarter they were able to reveal increased earnings. Earnings beat in June, earnings beat in September, earnings beat in December. And then in March, they had a miss and his smile faded. And it turns out that these quarter after quarter increases in the cost of everything has finally caused consumers to say they've had enough. This tiny earnings miss had a big effect on McDonald's stock, and they started to cause a bit of a freak out. Consumers have been pushed to the limit and are finally choosing to eat at home. They decided if we can't eat fast food at these prices, then we'll start going to the damn grocery store and cooking again. Dining out is becoming a luxury. Lower income consumers are eating at home more than ever before. Finally, they said, I'm not gonna just go to a competitor, I'm leaving the fast food consumption altogether. And if they do have money to still afford these prices but hate them, they have noticed they can get better food for the same prices. People are going to places like Applebee's and Chili's who are honing in on these high fast food prices. Hell, even great food reviewers are noticing that Chili's is offering a pretty good value.
Man, that's tasty.
So what does this mean for McDonald's? They've got a plan. With the backlash over these insanely priced meals, they are now gonna focus in on affordability. And this is not out of a kind heart. This is out of desperation. And that is why they started to roll out a brand new $5 value meal to quote, combat inflation. If you're American, you started to see all these value meals pop up. The thing is, when every fast food company was raising prices in unison, it was good for all of them. But now that McDonald's is freaking out and undercutting and bringing prices back down, that means the fast food wars are back on because suddenly it's a desperate, mad grasp for market share. That's why Burger King is launching their own $5 value meal to hit right back at McDonald's. A leaked memo showed they are thinking about this. Regardless of their plans, we are moving full speed ahead with our own plans to launch our own $5 value meal before they do. You may see this commercial.
Eat like a king who's on a budget. 3 tasty options, fries, drink, and nuggets, all for $5. Wait, that can't be right. Just confirm that that's the real price. BK.
Not just BK, KFC just dropped a $4.99 Taste of KFC deal, a value menu with real value. Starbucks is probably realizing that their customers are fed up for afterpaying or Klarna-ing their order. They had a very disappointing recent quarter. Again, to turn things around, they are turning to their own value meal, their new pairings menu. Sonic is trying to undercut them all by doing a $1.99. I don't know what is in this food if they're selling it for $1.99 in 2024. And Taco Bell just started joining in as well. One thing worth mentioning though, is that all of these meals, they're all for a limited time. And the reason they're for a limited time is because they actually don't make any money on these deals. The price increases were crazy, but inflation is real. These deals exist for a few months this summer to try and win back angry consumers, but they can't keep these prices. And what I want to bring this up to not only talk about fast food, which is obviously very interesting, but also the larger trend of pricing power. I've mentioned this earlier in the year and it's finally coming true. You see Nike and many other companies like Nike who have been raising prices for quarter after quarter after quarter are finally hitting a wall. Any company where a consumer can find a reasonable alternative, they're now doing it. Nike just reported their earnings dropped 20% in a day because the growth has completely stopped. unless you are a company like, let's say, for example, the NFL. The NFL Sunday Ticket keeps raising prices. And the reason they can keep doing that is because they have pricing power. If you are an NFL fan, there's no good substitute. You can't be like, oh, I'll watch soccer because it's cheaper or whatever. You like football, so you're going to keep paying even though you're really frustrated about it. It's kind of monopoly power. And so companies that aren't like NFL Sunday Ticket are running into desperation. Not just fast food, people like Target. Target is cutting prices on 5,000 items because inflationary shoppers are fed up with Target. Walgreens is cutting prices. Walmart is cutting prices. This is the beginning of the low-income consumer causing huge stock price corrections. Walmart is a tricky one though. See, they've got a plan. They're rolling out brand new digital price boards so they can change the prices in real time.
You see, they look a lot like paper labels, but they're not. They can be changed digitally using an app, and they can be changed within minutes instead of walking around an entire store and changing labels as they have to do traditionally.
Consumers obviously are immediately revolting. In fact, this is a very funny quote. "It's time for a revolution," says Walmart shoppers. The mere thought that their Walmart prices might go up 18 cents is causing them to take up AK-47s and join the revolution. Walmart says they would never, ever use these for surge pricing. Trust us. However, history has shown companies tend to push the line once the spotlight is no longer on them. An interesting thing just came out. This person was checking out for their Burger King meal and it got more expensive as they were checking out. The price went up 30 cents during the time between when they ordered it and when it was checked out. Surge pricing tactics are coming for all different areas of the market. Many companies have learned from the effectiveness of airline companies, which have found ways to personalize and target pricing and have it surge based on the user's ability to pay. And now the airline companies are literally teaching it to other companies who are trying to add it to their own business to find a way to somehow squeeze prices up in a time where they almost can't. What are you going to do about that? I've got a plan. If you are part of this consumer cohort who's mad about Walmart, mad about fast food prices, and wants a way to make some money, well, guess what? Your old pal Roaring Kitty is back again with a guaranteed foolproof plan to take you to the moon. You see, he tweeted this very recently, an image of a dog emoji. Now, obviously, we all know this is deep hidden code with a lot of layers to it, but I couldn't figure it out until the SEC filing just came out where he revealed first that he's not a cat. This is real. But also that he has now owned 9 million shares of Chewy, the online dog food company. Now, obviously, that's a little bit spooky because 9 million shares would cost about $211 million, which is about the exact amount he had in GameStop. People are wondering, did he sell GameStop and buy Chewy? Does he have another $200 million he didn't talk about? Why did he say before that his only position was GameStop? Why has it been GameStop only for this long and now there's suddenly Chewy? What is going on? Obviously, some people immediately sold GameStop on this news. It went down 17%. Watching the comments go through the 5 stages of grief was pretty crazy. Step 1 was denial. This isn't even real. There's no way it's real. He only buys GME. There's no way he bought it. Shady source, it's gotta be fake. Then there's anger. Are we supposed to be happy about this? GME's down because of this? He bailed on GameStop? Why Chewy? My GME calls got killed. I don't like this at all. Then bargaining. Is it distraction or the end game? He probably sold them to buy more GME. I think GME has a squeeze. Do we stay or do we move? Then it's depression. So strange. Why do people pretend him selling GME isn't even a possibility? So he sold it? Maybe he just swapped it. And then finally, this is normally the part where it would be acceptance, just more denial. Okay? Just more denial. This also comes the same week that one of the people that lost money on GameStop sued him for pump and dump conduct. And then 3 days later withdrew the suit, likely due to the harassment he was receiving personally for bringing it up. I want to mention, before I go any further on this is a real criminal. I agree that Nancy Pelosi using insider trading and congressional members using insider trading with their knowledge from Congress to make money in the stock market above and beyond the S&P 500 is criminal. But here's the thing. Even though that is prevalent, bipartisan, and almost never punished, at least when people on the internet copy Nancy Pelosi's trades, they make money. But when I read the comments, I have honest empathy for these people. I feel like we're losing this war, but nobody wants to say it. Me too. I should have sold a long time ago. Feel like an idiot. Buying, holding, zenning out. Nothing to do but wait. And then the response is, the guy goes, I'm being patient, but bills are starting to hit. This is who I'm worried about. People that fall into this trap that this guy's gonna take you to the moon and make you a ton of money on an online dog food company or a video game retailer end up losing money they need for bills, for healthcare, for their kids, for college funds. People are afraid to talk about this, but these losses are real. I just don't want you to lose a bunch of money on something stupid. Now, there is one thing that Wall Street is concerned about, and it's not what you're trading, is when you do it. Because it turns out that retail traders like us have been demanding and finding more and more ways to trade on the 24-hour cycle. And it is making Wall Street scared as hell. They are actually nervous about going to sleep and then massive movements happening while they're asleep. Ever since 2020, it was flat forever. And then since 2020, the number of people trading outside of regular hours has skyrocketed, largely thanks to new features by companies like Robinhood. Robinhood, which has added new ways to trade pre and post market, and it's headed towards the mainstream. People don't want to have to wait for somebody to ring the bell to start trading. They want to trade when it's convenient for them and when the time is right. I'm playing a small violin for Wall Street bankers who are sad that they're going to get mental health stress for having to always be on to trade against retail trade. I'm not worried about that. But I do want to say, if you are a retail trader, there's a lot of research that shows that when you trade more, you lose more money. Because you become more emotional, it becomes more reactionary, you're buying and selling too panicky. The best thing to do generally is to buy and hold. If you find yourself up at 4 a.m. on an Adderall binge trading, rethink. Now, earlier I mentioned the NFL Sunday Ticket. And if you're not an NFL fan, you might have to learn more about what this actually is. See, the NFL Sunday Ticket is a way to watch out-of-market NFL games. Basically, you could only watch local teams for free in the NFL. Let's say, for example, you lived in this part of Arizona but wanted to watch the Cardinals. Well, you can't do that without buying the NFL Sunday Ticket to watch out-of-market games. And this is very expensive. It can cost as much as $449 a year. So people who travel around the country or used to live one place or just a fan of teams somewhere else have to pay this exorbitant price to watch the team they want. This is all well and good until you realize that each of these teams owns the broadcast rights individually. So the only way they could have all put this together into one expensive package that keeps going up in price is collusion. And it turns out the courts agreed. The NFL has been ordered to pay billions, $4.7 billion, which may triple, because antitrust violations can triple, up to $15 billion directly to consumers for overcharging for these incredibly expensive out-of-market games. If you are a Sunday Ticket subscriber, you can actually get paid. Now, the only thing is they're going to appeal it because the NFL does not want to pay up to $450 million per team. Every team in the NFL is going to have to pay that amount. They don't want to do it. So they're appealing it all the way to the Supreme Court, likely, who, based on their recent actions, is going to be super corrupt. We're going to see Brett Kavanaugh in Super Bowl box seats. But until then, we're going to have this lawsuit stand. They're going to have to pay this money back to consumers. Now, they've said, we believe this class action claims are baseless without merit. But I wanted to look into this because I don't really understand how sports teams' laws work. Is it really collusion for the NFL to offer one price for their product? I mean, it's the NFL. It's one entity. It actually goes back to the 60s. So back in the 60s, you could not negotiate as one sports league. Every team had to negotiate individually, and that was considered normal. But then the NFL lobbied, spent a bunch of money to get the Sports Broadcasting Act passed, which basically said the NFL is exempt from antitrust, that they can collude all they want and it's fine because they're sports. And so ever since then, they've been operating under this principle. However, this act only applied to broadcasts that were ad-supported and free. So actually, when this lawsuit came in, they checked the law. They were like, wait a minute, it doesn't apply to like direct TV and YouTube TV and paid TV. And so they actually got hit with antitrust violations 40 years later. It actually worked. They were caught with their pants down. We'll see if it holds up, but it's a fun little quirk of the law that hopefully leads to Sunday ticket prices being cheaper for consumers and sports bars that are forced to pay these crazy prices. Speaking of paying crazy prices, we have a two-part final story here. And this is really as American as it gets. If you're American, you love fast food, sure. You love the NFL, sure. But what do you love most of all? Fentanyl! fentanyl use in the United States has skyrocketed. That's good for the country. And if you are a fentanyl dealer or just anyone who is interested in moving illicit money, I have got a big win for you this Marketing Monday. I have found the #1 bank ranked for laundering money. It is Citibank. Citibank has been officially the money launderer's favorite bank. This story came from the Sinaloa cartel out of Mexico, which was just going up with $50 million of fentanyl and meth proceeds, scoping out several banks and decided that Citi was the most lax. And then they walked up to Citibank ATMs, deposited millions in increments of like 9,000. Because if you do over 10,000, they have to reflag it. And Citi didn't flag it. However, I couldn't be mad at Citi. You know why? Because it's July 1st and I went to their profile and they're still supporting Pride Month. You can tell they really mean it. But maybe you come from a Breaking Bad level of knowledge on the drug trade. You might still think the drug trade works like this with the cartels in Mexico and money laundering in the United States. Basically, Mexico sends fentanyl up here, the United States sends money back down here, and that's it. But in fact, it has evolved. And to figure out how it's evolved, we have to head to Beijing by bringing back a classic segment, Wazzup, Beijing? Dirty money, cartels, and underground banks. We know it, we love it, but there's a new piece to the puzzle of that, and it's our friends in China, specifically Chinese gangs, which have become a key part of the global money laundering enterprise. In fact, they become the centerpiece of it. They've become the masters of global money laundering for different cartels and gangs. They clean dirty money on a vast scale by creating global shadow banks. And I want to try to explain how this has come into play and why a certain funny need out of China is a big driver for why China became this place. The U.S. announces a major bust as efforts to crack down on Chinese money launderers working with drug cartels ratchet up. Again, the U.S. is kind of caught flat-footed on this and doesn't really understand how to keep up until very recently with these new methods out of China, but they are trying to combat it. This seems like a complicated thing, but it's actually relatively simple. There are two groups that you need to understand, what they have and what they want. First is the Sinaloa cartel. They have fentanyl and they have dollars. The two things they want are the ingredients for fentanyl, and they want pesos because they actually spend pesos in Mexico. They need pesos. Problem is, getting money over borders is very hard. Getting drugs over borders is not that hard. The Chinese gangs have the ingredients for fentanyl and they have pesos because they sell the ingredients to the cartels. What they want is RMB. They want Chinese money. So who has that? Who has Chinese money and wants dollars? The last thing left over. The answer? Rich Chinese people. Rich Chinese people are becoming a major part, unintentionally, of the global money laundering trade because they really want to get their money out of the country. They don't want to hold Chinese RMB. They are afraid of the crackdowns by Xi Jinping, and they would like to get a bunch of dollars so they can buy real estate, they can buy US stocks, they can keep their money safe around the world. And so they are trying to do anything to get their money out of the country. Again, they can't buy Chinese stocks, they keep going down. They can't buy Chinese real estate, it keeps going down. They need to find some way to grow their money, so they want to put it into dollars. And yet, Xi Jinping and the CCP, expecting this, have made a limit. Can't transfer more than $50,000 out of the country, is basically what it's saying. That's your limit per year. Obviously, that means there needs to be an illegal demand. There's a black market to getting the money out. So, Chinese rich people are entrusting total strangers to sneak cash out of the country. And these total strangers end up being part of the puzzle that goes back to cartels in China and in Mexico. Now, you may have noticed that the money never actually crosses the border. Chinese money launderers just own the money in all three locations and use WeChat to use trust-based systems to transfer it to the right people. That makes it very, very hard for governments to track or stop or trace. It is like a new evolution of money laundering that only works as long as Chinese investors still want dollars. Now, you may notice that there's probably one piece missing, and that is someone who has dollars and wants fentanyl. That's Americans. The end of this story is Americans. They want the fentanyl, and that's what keeps the entire trade working. Fentanyl is the silent killer of American youth. The reason I bring this up is because if you are under 50, This is the #1 killer. It is one of the biggest problems in America today. If you are from a nicer or better off part of America, you may not know how serious and how dire this problem is. I want to stress the importance as we go into a future, an important election, that we need to make this a serious issue of the campaign. It is killing more people every year. We cannot stop this just by constantly chasing the dog of trying to crack down on ever more complex money laundering schemes. We have to find a way to reduce this demand. And I don't want to end on a bad note, so I want to give one update. The previous killer of Americans before the rise of fentanyl was opioids, pushed by the absolutely devilish Sackler family, one of the worst groups of human beings to ever walk this earth. They are being sued all over the country by every level of government and individual user who've lost lives and generations and money to their fucking pill-pushing ways for decades. They have siphoned all of the money out of their company, Purdue, and declared bankruptcy. And they were gonna walk away with billions and pay, I think, around $6 billion. Thank God, even our Supreme Court, which I can't really trust anymore, rejected this plan. They have stopped the ability for the Sacklers to shield themselves from all prosecution, to get permanent immunity in bankruptcy, and they will actually have to face some consequences out of these many, many cases, which again, they are losing for doing absolutely terrible negative social value for decades to America. I am pleased to see this outcome. So I'm gonna end on a good note, and hopefully we can get something similar in other future problems in America. But again, happy note to end on. Thank you for watching Marketing Monday. Tune in every week for more updates on business and geopolitics. Thank you again for watching.